Welcome to Sales Beast Podcast, when success is the only option. My name is Anna Marin.
My name is Mike Johnson.
We truly believe that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So we created this podcast to inspire you and surround you with the ideas and thoughts of the most successful people in real estate.
Today on Sales Beast, we have Daniela Biagi. Daniela is the lead listing specialist on one of the top real estate teams in Canada. She's had a very unique career path, going from graphic designer to teacher to full-time realtor. Today we'll be discussing her quick rise to success and the tools and activities she's using to continue to excel during the shifting market.
Just off the get-go, why don't you tell us a little bit about your business, where you're at? So we want to hear what level of business you're in, how many units you've done, GCI, how long you've been in real estate.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
All my numbers.
Okay.
So I've been in full-time real estate for 2.5 years on the Knighton Real Estate Advisors, which when I joined was called the Knighton team. We've evolved quite a bit since then. Last year I signed 76 listings and I sold 42 homes. My GCI was around 140,000. And this year the team collectively has already done in the first quarter 51 deals. So it's been going well.
It's amazing. I have to thank you. I've never told you this before, but I think you may feel the same way. Like when you come in to real estate in your first year, you do fantastic, way better than you ever thought you were capable of doing. At least for me, to a certain degree, I almost thought I was like God's gift to Hamilton real estate. Then I heard about you and heard how much you're just crushing it and hitting it out of the park. And that for me, it brought me back down to earth, because it made me think there's someone that started pretty much at the exact same time I did that's doing better than me. And I always in the back of my mind think of people like you, think of people like Justin. Another one, Anna, is David Robio out of Mississauga. Yeah. And to know that you guys are out there at the same point in your real estate career as I am, and you're doing better than me in a lot of ways, it humbles me. And it keeps me incredibly motivated. And I don't even know you that well, and we've only spoken a few times, but just be aware that you're always on my mind, and you guys push me so much.
And I think for me,
thank you. I appreciate that so much. I think it's one of those things where, to be honest, I have no idea about, other numbers or other people's numbers. And it's like I asked you earlier, like, how are you guys doing? It's not for lack of caring or anything like that, but we try to stay focused on the team, more on our own business. Your only competition is yourself. I think you've probably heard that a million times, and probably from Chris or someone on the team at some point. And it's not that I'm not interested in how everyone else is doing. It's just that you're always sort of like you set a benchmark, and I guess just me or anyone, if you don't hit that, that's my competition, is like, how do I get there and how do I get there? So it starts off obviously with the right support. Obviously, I didn't just go from teaching and turn around into real estate and do that well on my own. That speaks volumes to the team and the team structure, obviously. But most importantly, you have to do it. Like, it comes down to people can give you as much opportunity as they can. But at the end of the day, it's you have to do it. You have to sit down, you have to work, you have to sacrifice. And it does come with a significant amount of sacrifice. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for saying that. And I hope that's what we all do. I hope we all keep inspiring each other, because, that's what makes it good.
Yeah. And the full purpose of this podcast is not only for us to build our network, but it's to highlight people like yourselves that are crushing it in the business. And for me, first year, licensed, really, what am I going to do to push the level forward and to move the needle for people coming after me? Right.
Yeah.
So it's definitely important to have these conversations. And now that we're in a shifting market, we wanted to interview you because maybe it hasn't impacted you as much, but we want to hear what you're doing, what you're doubling down on. So why don't you tell us, what are your top lead generation sources right now?
Top lead generation sources are looking a little bit different right now in the whole COVID-19 thing than they do normally. Normally, I have open houses, follow up, and I either will do, depending on the week and what type of listings I've got coming up, I'll either do Mojo or I'll do social media more heavily. So it kind of oscillates between the two of those. I still cold call. Everyone asks me, like, you still cold call? Like, yeah, I mean, I like to, I actually don't even see it as cold calling. Like, I just like to talk to my community, and I like to provide them information. I like to provide them value. Usually I focus more my cold calling or sort of on my particular area that I live in. And then of course, if I have like a listing in an area or anything, it's always important to like share that information with the neighbors, because, you know, it's just about providing that information. So I don't really feel that, it's weird. I don't have a feeling of going in cold usually. I always feel like I have something to share or some way that I can help. And when I first started my first year, I swear I only did Mojo. I only did cold calling because like, you know, you have your first lead generation would be your sphere. And I spent all of my adult life in Toronto, downtown, which I don't trade in Toronto typically. And I grew up in Niagara, where my sister and her husband are agents there. So anyone that we know in Niagara would use them because they live in Niagara. So I really had to start from scratch. I had no sphere. I had, you know, nothing. I just had cold calling. And so I would do that. I would go on appointments and I would cold call like at least 4 hours a day, and then follow up with those calls and stuff like that. And we have a whole system, which I'm sure you guys kind of are familiar with, where you make either an appointment or you send a card or some sort of touch point, and then you continuously follow up and touch point with them. So this year so that was a year and a half ago. For about 8 months, I did that pretty consistently. And then come year 2, I got about 4 listings just from cold calling the area. And those are really easy because, you know, call me in a year, call me in 6 months. And then you do, and you touch base with them and they're like, yeah, come list my house. Like, the time is right. Is it like that for all of the other hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people I talk to? No, but that's 4 legitimate pieces of business from cold calling. One of those listings has led to 2 other listings within 2 weeks and 2 buyers. So it's a significant piece, I think, that sometimes gets discounted or sometimes left for like the rookie agent. But you know what? I think it's important that you don't just totally drop off when something works, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I know Mike has kind of a very similar situation in terms of his sphere, because he came from the East Coast, not having any sphere here, and he built up his business strictly through cold calling. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what he did.
So I actually, literally the first thing I did when I got in the business, I had a meeting with Sandy and Kate, and then Kate was she was my team lead at that time. And she told me, you have to go talk to this guy named Alex. He works for this guy named Chris. And I kept delaying and delaying. Why would this guy named Alex that works for a guy named Chris want to talk to me? So eventually Kate forced me to go and shadow you guys before you were on the team. And Alex was a big cold caller. I spent a day watching him do what he does. And if it works for Alex, it works for me. And I spent the next year just doing that.
Alex and Chris are basically the 2 people that I learned from pretty exclusively. You know, they were the ones with me every single day, calling me, me reaching out to them at 10 o'clock at night when I had a deal, or, you know what I mean? They were the ones there. So that makes total sense, because Alex crushes all that type of stuff. So
It was, I guess my mentality when I got in was just, my sales are going to be a direct reflection of the number of people I speak to on a daily basis. And I knew literally no one, so it felt like I had no other option other than to cold call.
Definitely.
Fortunately, it worked out. Like, real estate truly is a contact sport. I think the more people you speak to on a consistent basis, the more homes you'll sell.
For sure. I mean, there's no substitute for contacts and connecting with people. And I think the biggest learning curve for me was probably around that 8-month mark. It's not contacts for contracts. You know what I mean? That whole thing. You are really trying to connect with people and, you know, have those conversations, because the best way to become their realtor essentially, or their person where they find, you know, oh, how much is my house worth? Or, you know, this house sold down the street, I'm going to call Mike.
Their go-to, like their top of mind, like they're only going to call you.
Yeah. And the only way to do that, like you said, is to have those conversations and to continuously follow up. I mean, I have people who will say to me like, oh, I'm so sorry, I have nothing going on, but thank you so much for always calling or for always following up. I always look forward to it. Or you hear like, oh, I always watch your videos, and you don't really notice or know that until you have those conversations with people. And, you know, oh, I always look forward to seeing what open houses you have coming up next week. And it's hard sometimes from your perspective because you don't realize that people are listening or watching or hearing your 500 voicemails. But, you know, when you finally get a hold of them, they're like, oh, I feel so bad every time you leave a voicemail. Like, I can't wait to talk to you, but I'm never around or whatever. And it's those little tiny things where you realize it does work. And I know it sounds weird because you're like, obviously it works. People do it. Like, people are successful from doing it. But until you, and if I have any advice for like a new agent, until you actually experience that and it actually produces for you, people can tell you all day long something works, but until it actually works for you, it's a game changer, because it puts you completely into a different energy, a different vibe, and you're able to start really building on your own experience.
Yeah, 100%.
One way it's kind of a funny way to look at it, but do you guys ever get the phone calls from the duct cleaners?
No, I don't.
Like the ABC duct cleaner. Yeah, all the time.
So every time I post one of my rentals on Kijiji, I start to get those calls coming in.
Yeah.
And I always think to myself, like, I never say yes, come over guys, I want you to clean my ducts. But I always think if it didn't work, they wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone is saying yes to those people, or they would have given up a long time ago. And I've been getting those calls for 5 years now.
Wow.
So if it works for them, it works for me.
So would you say that's your main source of lead generation, Mike? Is that you cold call?
Main source of lead generation to this day, I would say now, though, more of my business is coming from other sources. So I still try and keep that habit in place because it's led me to where I am today. But as time goes on, more and more of my business is coming from referrals, past clients.
Perfect.
But I'll never stop doing that. I enjoy it, and I'm grateful for what it's provided me with.
It's your thing, right?
Yeah.
You have to find your thing. So cool.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So aside from what you're doing and what you've kind of geared everything towards virtual, which we already talked about a little bit, but what are your leaders doing? Like, what is Chris doing differently during the shift?
During this shift, I mean, we all pretty well worked hard at adapting as quickly as possible. I think follow-ups, you know, shift or no shift, you have people to call, you're going to call them. So he's always working on his follow-ups and reaching out to people. The team collectively has switched more of a laser focus on obviously social media and online presence, because everyone's home scrolling through their phone on Facebook. You know, everyone's online way more than they were. And they were online a lot, obviously, before that. But now they have nothing to do but be online. So we have really tried to gear our focus toward how can we connect with people online. Virtual appointments, we're trying to all do virtual appointments as well. Virtual CMAs, you know, talking to people, having them walk through their house with their video camera, and just creating an online presence. And from the listing side, we really want to make sure that the houses we have listed, because those people do have to sell those homes, they're getting as many eyeballs on them as possible. So we want to make sure that, you know, if we can do, you know, a couple of things online, we want to do like more than that. So we're all trying to be creative as like, how can we put this out there in a way that services the client at the highest level, and then also allows that client just as many eyeballs on the property as there would have been had we had like more in-person showings. Like we said, we're not trying not to show the property. We just want to be as virtual as possible because we just want to make sure everybody's staying safe, and everybody wants that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So during the shift, I mean, our lead gen has we don't do open houses anymore. So there's a couple of things that we aren't going to do, and we're just going to fill that gap with, more online stuff or more calls or, that type of virtual thing.
Can I ask you a question? So you mentioned to me lead gen sources or cold calling and then open houses. When you do your open houses, are you doing them to get buyer leads for the team, or are you actually getting listings off your open houses?
So we all want both.
Yeah.
I want to get as many buyers as I can as well to feed the team buyers. Obviously, I make a referral on that too. My main goal, though, as a listing agent, is to get listings. So it's always both. And I think it's always both for all agents, regardless of which side you're working on. We want to make sure we're bringing as many leads to the team as possible. And I don't know if it's just an energy thing or a vibe thing. I just tend, or maybe it's just my focus is always on listing and that kind of thing. Maybe that's why I get, I feel like I get more personally, I get a heavier, number in the listing side than I do on the buyer side. I actually had to make a goal this year to bring buyers to the team and say, like, I want to bring, X amount of actual buyers to the team that are going to transact. Because I never focused really too much on that. I just felt like whatever naturally came through and that'd be enough. But it's an opportunity, right? And it's an excellent opportunity for the listing side. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to me personally, I personally feel I get more listing leads from open houses, even though that sounds completely contradictory to the whole open house thing. But I think it's just because that's where my focus is all the time. But as for, all of us across the board, we're always trying to bring both.
Yeah. So of the 42 deals you did last year, how many of them would you say came from open houses?
Not a lot of them. I would probably say that maybe one. So not a lot. Like, I don't even think I counted that at all last year. This year, I've already had 3 or 4. Actually,
that's awesome.
4. Yeah. So, and I don't know. Just chalk that up to. I don't know.
Were those from open houses that you did last year that you've been following up with, or open houses that you did this year?
This year.
Oh,
this
nice.
year from my listings. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And
I feel like regardless what the source of lead generation is, just putting yourself out there, you're almost telling the real estate gods that I want business.
100%.
Even if I'm staying consistent in cold calling, sticking to my plan, I might not get anything off cold calling, but
something will come.
Me just putting in the activity tells the universe that I want business, and it flows in from some source.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's about momentum. You're entering the energy of business coming towards you because you're putting it out there. And like, it's funny because then we'll always joke, we're like, oh, magically we got a referral, or like magically my past client called me, and like, you know what I mean? But it's not magic. It's energy. Like you said, you've put out what you are looking to do, and you're saying, hey, I'm available to do this. And that's when it comes. So yeah, exactly. It's definitely something where you can just doing the actions puts you in that sort of vibe that you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. And this is what I'm already doing, the actions, the results will naturally just come. And again, it doesn't even matter. It's like, I could be, following up all day long, and then I get like 3 text messages from people, past clients. And it's not that I touch base with them specifically, but like you said, it just puts you into that channel of opportunity. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting thing. And I think that goes for all business, sitting down and doing, nothing. You have to take action, and you have to take, inspired action, but the right action. Nothing will ever replace following up with your clients, or, touching them 4 or 5 times or 6 times or 33 times, whatever it is that you follow. Nothing replaces that. You still have to do that. You have to put in the reps. And once you are in a good routine and being held accountable, which everyone hates, but is the best because it keeps you kind of on track. Like you said, it feels like magically, business just comes to you, right? But you don't, people on the outside will be like, they're so lucky, or like, this is happening, it's so easy. And they don't see all the, you know, weekends that you don't go out, and, you know, dinners that you cancel because you have an appointment. There's a huge level of sacrifice that comes with anything, I think, that you're trying to accomplish in a big way. And you have to be cool with that. You know, like, there are times, I think I said this to Marianne yesterday, I'm like, I'm surprised I still have any friends at all because I cancel on them all the time, last minute appointments and that kind of thing. And you have to be cool with it. I think the other part of that is you have to have the right people in your life. They're also cool with it. They're supportive. They're not going to, you know, give you grief. They're going to be like, okay, no problem. That's awesome. We'll do it another time. So yeah.
Definitely. No, I agree. And having those people in your life that are constantly pushing you is what's going to make you better. I've definitely, even over the past year and a bit, had to cut certain people out of my life, not purposely, nor did I say, hey, you're not going to be in my life anymore, but it just kind of happened naturally because you are constantly surrounding yourself with people that are going to push you further and higher, right?
I think that's an interesting point. As you evolve and you go through your life, I'm a true believer that, you know, every person is here obviously to grow and to evolve in some way, shape, or form. And as you do that, you're naturally going to have those people who just fall off. You know, they're not, you know, you're going to go up to another vibrational level. If they're not going to meet you there, they really have no place for you anymore. And that becomes a very natural process of people just sort of exiting, you know, your life. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just, you know, the way things are. And I think, you might have a few like ride or die friends from when you were super young, and, you know, they're always, because they're evolving with you, you know, they're evolving in their own way, in their own world, but still they're evolving. I think it's easy to see the ones that fall off. They're just not on the same trajectory. And it's not to say we're all real estate agents. We're not. I think I am the only agent in all of my friends, other than my sister. But yeah, so regardless of their path, if they're evolving, they're going to stick around with you and kind of help you through that journey and be with you on that. And if they're not, I think it's a supernatural thing for people to just naturally fall off.
Yeah, 100%.
I think on the opposite side of that too, like everyone on this call has chosen to join a team. And I know Chris quite well. Obviously, I know Sandy very well. I think the leader you choose to follow has to move at least as fast as the people on his team, if not faster. That's one thing in the back of my mind, I always think about Sandy. If I want to stay in this guy's world and be relevant in his world, I need to keep pace with him. He moves so much faster than I do. And
right.
I'm always trying to put my pedal down. So I remain important in his life, because I know if I keep the pace with him in 5, 10, 15 years, I'm going to be in an amazing place. My family's going to be in an amazing place.
Yeah. I think all of us on this call I can speak for myself. I'm a huge proponent of teams. I left a really good job. I was a full-time teacher. I had benefits. I had a pension. I had a salary. You know, I had that security. And I knew to leave that, I wasn't going to leave and be a single agent on my own. That might be a really attractive dream for most people, because it's, you know, you're your own boss and you run your own life and everything's going to be so fun. But that I knew for sure, like I needed to reach a certain level of accomplishment in my mind pretty quickly. Teaching was actually my second career. So here I am heading into my third career. And I was like, it's this or death. Like there's no fourth career. And so I knew I couldn't do that alone. And I didn't want to do it alone because I knew I wouldn't be learning fast enough. So I'm a huge proponent of teams. And it's not to say that every person who joins a team stays on a team forever. They most of the time they don't. Most of the time they reach a certain level of success that they're happy with and they're comfortable with, and they go off onto their own, which is amazing. But I think, you know, if you are a newer agent, or even if you're an agent who needs like a refresh on your career, joining a team to me is so beneficial, because you have so many different people with all different forms of experience. And especially if they have more experience than you, then they're going to have gone through the things you're going through at least 10 times before that even comes up in your world, right? So to have like someone to lean on, and someone to ask advice for, and the first time one of your listings that's brand new, freshly renovated, floods top to bottom, and no one knows it's flooded because it's vacant, and then they go on their last walkthrough and they're like, oh, there's water everywhere.
Oh man.
Like the first time that happens to you, I think my heart like flew out of my body. And then I like talked to Chris, and he was like so calm and steadfast about it. He's like, here's what we're going to do. And I was like, oh, thank God. So it's just getting through stuff like that. And I mean, it's happened again, and it was no big deal because I knew how to handle it. If you're not on a team, I hope you're at a really good brokerage where there's tons of support and you are very connected. But like, I like your point about, I know that I have to stay relevant, and I have to keep up with Sandy. You have that, right? Like in a lot of other agents who are single agents, they don't have that gauge where they're like, how well am I doing? Can I do better? What does better look like? Right? So you have that perspective, and that's so beneficial to you because you're like, I'm good where I'm at, but I can do so much more. I will do so much more. And then there's more after that. So, to even just to have that, that perspective or that thought process is something I think that's beneficial to even joining a team. And of course you have people who can support you. You have their experience, you have their combined knowledge, you have all of these things. And most of all, the accountability, which I think is huge.
To your point too, Daniela, I've been in real estate for like 2 years now, but this is my first year as an agent. And I feel like so blessed to have gone through the full admin process, to know pretty much everything about real estate. Now I'm actually an agent and able to experience everything, but still, like, I don't know everything. And I'm so blessed to have the experience of everyone on the team to guide me through that, because I've never done the agent role before. Right. And being a solo agent, just thinking about it, if I was a solo agent, I'd freak out. Like, I don't know what I would do. So I just feel super blessed. And I think, like you said, if you're not on a team, definitely consider it if you're looking to go into real estate, right? For sure. I mean, even if you want to just go onto the team to learn how to do it, I said to Chris when I first met him, I was like, I know there's something I know there's a way to do it. I just don't know how to do it. Like, there's got to be a way to create a business out of this. I actually I had a few friends who were agents, but didn't really know what their day looked like. You know what I mean? Didn't really know, like, how do you make, something out of nothing, essentially. And that's, I think, like you said, when you pick your team or you pick your leader or whoever, however you want to put it, when you pick someone you want to work with, it's important that you have to kind of take the business part out of it for 2 seconds and just be like, does this person as a person, gel with me as a person, on an outside level than business? Because, are we able to communicate? Do we see things the same way? The one thing that really sold me, I actually interviewed 5 teams when I got my license. And the one thing that sold me on the Knighton team when I met with Alex and Chris was, right out of the gate, we were talking about like affirmations and manifesting and those types of things. And if you know me, obviously I have an intuitive side, and I'm super into that stuff. And our conversation led down that road right away. And I'm like, okay, cool. They don't think this stuff is weird. This is normal in their world. So I'm not weird here. And like, they get me and I get them. And that was a huge piece of it. And it didn't come up in any other meetings that I had with any other teams. It was like, we feed you leads. It was like most of the normal stuff, which works, but didn't work for me. And I think to have longevity in something, to really sink your teeth in and, not only get, good at what you're doing, but to actually give yourself the opportunity to succeed in a big way, you have to, that's like the first building block. It's like, are these my people? Is this my tribe? Because then you're going to go through it, right? Like once you start, there's going to be a ton of learning curves and breakdowns and buildups and all kinds of stuff. So you have to be okay with like, I'm going to go through the paces like to put this career into place. That's not a secret. Everyone's going to,
you're going to have a very, you know, extensive list of challenges to overcome. So can I overcome those challenges in this environment? I think is the number one thing when you're picking your team. And I think it's the first thing that's overlooked. Because if you're looking for something that has longevity to it, that's going to be the reason there's longevity is because you can gel with the people in a way that you can get through all that stuff. So yeah.
Love it. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So this is a question that I've kind of been asking the people around me, but what do you think is going to change during this shift that won't change back once everything kind of settles?
That won't change back?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of talk around like life is going to be different. We're all going to be different. No one's going to be the same after this. I don't really believe that. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but you know, life always finds its normal again. It could take a long time, maybe. It could take a year or two or something, but eventually, like you think of all the other catastrophes that have happened in the world over time. And once, you know, even after like 9/11, we all said the world is going to be different forever. And it was for a long time, but like everything, time heals all. And it is something that we still acknowledge and we still talk about and we still remember those years. But I would say that, you know, our life different, completely different because of it, maybe a little bit changed, but not really. I don't know how this is going to affect us. I think business will eventually fall back into the normal realm. That's just my belief. I think we're going to show houses again. We're going to have open houses again. I think we might be a little bit more cognizant of staying like clean and healthy and disinfecting things and washing our hands for a little bit, but I don't see it having a longer effect than that really.
I think for me, if anything, it's just when next spring rolls around, because I love the spring market. I love zooming around town, meeting new people, closing deals. I'm going to be so much more grateful for it. The past couple of years, I think I probably just took it for granted.
Yeah, for sure.
Now it's a spring. I should be out there, but I'm stuck inside.
Yeah. It's the little that you miss the most. I find the biggest thing for me was that I missed going for dinner at a restaurant with my friends. Ask me before how many times I did that, like maybe once a month, maybe. Like maybe once every 3 months. Like I rarely did it. But I had the option and I had plans with people. And if I did or didn't do it, I still was going to do it or planned on doing it. And it's been like the one thing that has really been on my mind this entire time. It's like, oh my God, just like go to a restaurant. You know what I mean? Like anything. So it's the little things we miss the most. And of course, like I just think I miss like human interaction. We do a lot of video stuff and we talk on the phone all day long, but if there's nothing can replace like an energetic physical presence of a person, whether it's an appointment or like going to your family's for dinner or like seeing someone at the office. I didn't really realize how much that was affecting me until yesterday. And I was like, whoa, like where is this coming from? But that'll all be back. I don't think it's going to be too much longer. It'll be probably a month or two or whatever, but I know some people think, oh, it's going to be like August, but I don't think so. So. No, I think give us another 30 days. We'll probably be a lot closer then, if not ready to go back to it. And I think we'll be okay.
Awesome. Sure. Well, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us today, Daniela. We are kind of running out of time, so we'll quickly wrap it up. But before we let you go, this is one question that we ask all our guests. Who do you know that we should have on this podcast?
Oh, I'm going to say Justin Sawicki, unless you've already planned this with him.
He's on our list for sure.
He's on your list? Yeah, put him in that short list. He's an amazing guy, and he, definitely have him on.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much.
Awesome.
Stay safe and healthy out there, guys.
Thank you. It was an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.